Widow's Bay, Beast, and this is a gardening show. This is Staying In. The results are in, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember from the last episode, I was booked in to have my "Oh no, you're 40" chat with the doctor.
Yes.
And I've got the results, everyone.
Okay.
The good news is I'm still here. And I managed to score a 1.3% chance of having a heart attack in the next 10 years.
That's great. Well done.
Thank you.
How do you feel, Sam? Speech!
First of all, I feel like the data set that the doctor was using was probably not as robust as I would have liked it.
Was he just like flipping a coin?
Well,
It was like a BuzzFeed quiz.
They did take some bloods and they did check my blood pressure, did weight and height, all that kind of stuff. And the rest of it was kind of relying on me to tell the truth.
Oh, you didn't lie, did you, Sam?
No, yeah, you didn't say. Come on.
No, I don't think I did lie.
Come on, Sam. Come on.
There is. But like when they asked me about diet, like they can only quantify diet in what they have in the drop-down menus. So it was very, very difficult because you kind of went from like not varied to balanced to something else. It's kind of like, well, I'm a vegetarian, and they were like, "Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, yeah, vegetarian's one of the best diets you could have. Do you cook all your food fresh at home?" I was like, "Yeah, on the most part, we do. I mean, it's like burgers and chips and stuff, but it's all fresh." And so then I ended up committing to this balanced diet, and I mean, I'm just eating a Kit Kat Crunchy and a Twix, half a Twix from Lidl. So balanced, doing things in evens. And then the rest of the questions were about how many units I drink, how much I smoke. And even though I feel like I gave a fair representation of myself, I feel like the data set isn't robust enough for me to really trust that 1.3%. However, I will say this. I love the NHS. Brilliant.
Don't we?
I don't necessarily think that telling someone they've 1.3% chance of having a heart attack is necessarily a positive thing, because now I feel like I've got room to bed in and it will be fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy to go.
There's a leeway there.
I'm happy to go to 5-10% before I feel like I've got to step in and do something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because as we know, having played XCOM, 1%, there's basically no chance of that happening. Right?
Yeah. That's amazing, Sam. That's incredible.
You've done well.
Pete, you and I are older than Sam. I've not had this message. My GP is clearly not as good as Sam's.
I think basically they've seen you, Kris, and they've gone, look, this man is fit as a fiddle, right? They've seen
maybe
me,
the opposite.
Yeah, and with me, they've said, look, this is a write-off. Let's not waste time with this lad.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I'm willing to admit that my numbers are good, but until I have some sort of benchmark comparison, I'm not. Like, if Kris comes back and it's like 0.3, I'll be like, ugh.
Well, Sam, don't make this a competition, because now that's just going to...
Of course he will. Of course he will, Pete.
You're right. He absolutely will.
The stats, man.
But it's the best competition to have, isn't it? It's the best competition.
How would you feel if I got 1.1%, Sam?
Oh, well, I'd be straight out there on a run. Yeah. I'll be running past the doctors going, look at me.
Can I ask, Sam, you mentioned that you didn't feel that the process was robust enough. What else could they have taken off you, given to you, to make that data much more viable for you?
I feel like my Garmin watch day to day gives me more of a data set of of what I'm doing. I mean, like an ECG might have been nice. Do some HRV surveys.
General knowledge. I only realised today, and this is not to be overly navel-gazing, but we've been doing this for over 10 years. Since March, we've been doing this for 10 years.
As in this podcast?
This podcast, yeah.
Oh, that means that we've been... Oh, no, I'm going to go on the internet and look at something. So we've been doing this podcast for over 10 years. That means that we've been podcasting together
for nearly 20 years.
Yeah, we're coming up on 20 years, aren't we?
I think it's next year.
God. So we've been doing it for 17 and a half years. 17 and a half years. We did the podcast before this one, and then, so we've still got 2.5 years until we get to the big 20 for us podcasting together. But 10 years doing this thing. This is probably the longest commitment to anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
How long have you been with your partner?
Apart from that one thing.
Okay. How long have you been at your job?
I've been at the job for, I think, just less than this or just more. Basically, we started this podcast when I started that around the same time as I started my current job. So it's very, very close, regardless.
How we've changed.
Have we changed? I don't want to go back and listen to find out, to be honest.
What percentage do you think was I on when we started this 10 years ago? Do you think that's the numbers come down, or do you think it's gone up?
I think it's come down. As in, I think your percentage chance of having a heart attack has probably improved.
Improved?
As in, from where it was, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Not increased.
Just to let you know, number high, bad. Yeah. Number low, good.
Yeah, lower.
Thanks, Doctor.
It's gone lower.
At least that's what I thought they said. They might have said 1% chance of...
Oh, God. Not having one.
Of not having one.
That'd be a really weird way of putting a spin on it.
It was a cognitive test. So, what was the first episode? What was that called?
It was Burgle Brothers.
Yeah,
I spoke about the wonderful cooperative board game.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Batman versus Superman?
I feel like it might have been Batman versus Superman.
Might very well have been.
It's hardly a champagne bottle against the ship's hull, is it?
It's really not,
with the exception of Burgle Brothers, which is. It's an amazing game. But Batman versus Superman, good lord.
I think we talked about Uncharted really early as well.
Yes, Uncharted 4, yeah. That rings a bell.
Good lord. 10 years. Well, actually, that all makes sense because, like Uncharted 4 just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. And it's when you get things like that you go, okay. I feel like I finished Uncharted 4 like 12 months ago. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, like maybe not 12 months ago, maybe a couple of years ago, I finished Uncharted 4, where I went, oh, okay, I'm finished with that thing. But no,
I replayed it recently, so
I'm going to replay it again soon. I think I've played it a couple of times.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sort of judging whether or not to go back to that one actually, because the rumor is that Uncharted 5's heavy in development at the moment, which is
really
apparently so. Yeah, I think 4 is worth a revisit. It just is. I think the ending is very baggy.
Bad?
It's not bad, but it's just like, I think the first 2/3 of that game are so finely chiseled that when you get to the end, I think it feels... I think there are some amazing moments that happen near the end that kind of get lost in the noise because it feels a bit drawn out. If you want to replay that game again, I'd recommend watching a YouTube video by Video Game Donkey where he revisits Uncharted 4 and says about how like he revisits it and basically realised when he revisits it that you as a player are actually complicit in the downfall of Nathan Drake's marriage. And it's an amazing piece of criticism and makes you really reevaluate what that game actually is and what it shows.
Can you imagine if you had a choice, a little bit like, was it Far Cry 6, Sam?
I mean, talking about 10 years to play, I mean, Kris and I have not yet finished.
Yeah, we've got a few games on the go. Far Cry 6 and, in terms of tabletop, Jaws of the Lion. And
Pandemic Legacy Season 2 and Correct. Split Fiction. So just a few things.
I read a really interesting idea on Reddit today. Now, I didn't agree with the core of the post. It was a post on r/boardgames, and it was a person who was dramatically de-scoping like the amount of stuff that they had, right? So like reducing things down, trying to live a more minimalist life. And supposedly on r/boardgames, there's a bit of a wave of these people at the moment that are like trying to, get across this idea of like downsizing. And I think, some people think, oh, this is just sort of virtue signaling to some degree of like, look how good I am. Look, I'm trying to be less bothered about things, and then some people are like, no, this is a genuinely interesting like way of approaching life, like, you know, reduce that stuff down. But in amongst all of that like noise and natter that I think is sort of slightly pointless because you're sort of trying to outguess what someone's intention is from the internet, somebody put something that I thought was really, really fascinating, which was that there is a sense in which when we buy board games, and I think it's the same with video games as well, but I think board games suffers from this a little bit more. We're buying a fantasy, not the fantasy of the game itself. Like, you know, you are a landowner and you're going around buying houses and hotels and you know, and electricity stations, but more like the fantasy of one day I will get to play this really big board game and I will be the hero that has this big board game and everyone will love it and we'll have a really lovely time and we'll play this game loads. Like, we'll get really into this really deep game and we'll play this. The fantasy of that. And it really struck me. I've been thinking about it since dinner time, basically, because I was sort of like, you know, like I'd sort of
just sat there at the table like that Rodin sculpture.
Yeah, just ignoring Alex. And I got thinking about this because I think there's something to that. I remember when we, you know, obviously we've talked about going to conventions and stuff like that, and going to like bring and buy sales, or like going into the bring and buy section, right? And it's always really interesting to see what's in there. But one of the really interesting things, and I think we've mentioned this ourselves, as like, you know, whenever we've been to these things, there's always lots of like super all-in Kickstarters or this massive board game with all the expansions, and it's like unpunched and nobody's touched it, and it's very good. You know, it's a game that we've looked at and go, this is a really good game. Like, oh, they didn't bother playing it. And I do wonder if there's something to that. This fantasy of like, I've bought Pandemic Legacy Season 2 because one day I'll get to that. And you're sort of, that fantasy is like, one day we'll get to that. Because it's definitely the same it is definitely the case for me with, I think, miniatures sometimes. I will buy miniatures or I'll buy role-playing games and I'll go, oh, I'll totally run that one day. And I haven't in the 5 or 6 years that I've owned it.
And so do you think that hope and that potential that is stored within that thing, do you think that potential is a reflection of the object or a reflection of someone that you would like to be in the future, that would have the time and the capacity to play that thing or paint that miniature?
I think it's that latter. I think it's the latter of those, because if I like, so for example, if you gave me unfiltered access to the internet and £300, I would absolutely.
Why do you filter your internet?
Well, you'll find out in a second. I would absolutely go on to, you know, my favorite miniature retailer, and I would go and build an army that I'm like, oh, I really want to build this army for this game that I've never played, and I'll totally buy all these models, and because one day I'll put it all together, and I'll buy a second force as well, and there'll be two things, and I'll sit one of my friends down, and we'll have this big rank and flank like battle, and it'll be really cool, and everything will be beautifully modeled, and all this scenery and all this terrain. And then I think, I'm probably not going to get to that, but I've now just spent £300 on this hope, right? There's this, and there's something nice about that. There's something wonderful about that, like having that ambition, and I want to do that thing. Just to be clear, I haven't done this, just in case Alex is listening. I haven't done this, but you know, there is something wonderful there about like, oh yeah, I totally will do that. But how often do I actually like see that thing through? How often do I go, like, I've got games in my cupboard that I've been reading a lot of role-playing game books recently. I'm like, I can't wait to get this to the table. But instead of organising an RPG session for us and running the game I've just read, I've gone, I can't bother to do that. I'll go and read another one, or I'll go and buy another one.
And I like the fact that because you're a beautiful human being, Peter Wellington, I love you very much. Every so often you'll send me like a link to an RPG book. Like it'll always be it'll be typically like something like from the Blades in the Dark system. And like you, I get excited about that.
Yeah.
But I also know that trying to get something like that off the ground is really, really tricky. But it doesn't stop me from doing it. And I do think that we as a species, a lot of us, we we tend to like to have things unconsciously that are there that we'll never perhaps ever get to, but having something there in the very least is a lot better than having nothing there. It's almost like where back in the medieval period they just thought that for every land animal had a water equivalent, so they would draw like sea lizards and things. And I think around Norway they had to remove like 50 islands that actually don't exist. They were just drawn on there as these kinds of aspirational places for people to go to.
Sure.
So it's this idea that actually it's the existential feeling of not having something.
Yep.
Like, I can't imagine what it must be like to have just got to the end of every book on my shelf or every game on my shelf. Like, I want to do it.
Yes,
same. Paradox. Part of me is not doing that because I could just do it.
Yeah.
You know, if I've already got them, I could just do them. They just sat there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of board games now in particular, it's really rare for them not to have a solo variant. Yeah. They're just there. So what's stopping me?
So, well, it definitely wasn't 10 years ago, but on a recent podcast, I think it was the one where we went to AirCon in 2026, we spoke about a game called Red Notice. Mm-hmm. And it was a very slight, very light, but very wonderful hidden movement game that at the time of recording hasn't yet come to the UK. I mean, I got no updates or anything about it. Maybe we'll find out more when we go to UKGE and see the team from Hachette there. But I got the pleasure the other day of playing what I think might be my new favourite big hidden movement game. And by big, I mean like Fury of Dracula big. Like,
so we talking big as in complex? We talking big as in table space? We talking big as in like IP? What we
duration?
Talking about here?
Yeah. Two of those three. I think big as in table space. No, three of those four. It's big as in table space, big as in complex, big as in time. Because this is Beast. Now, Beast was originally, I think, a Kickstarter game back in 2023. And it comes from Studio Midhall, who are a family company. And there's two brothers. There's Aaron Midhall, there's Ellen Midhall, and then there's Asa Peterson. And they brought out this game called Beast. And it got a lot of love at the time and fulfilled its Kickstarter. And then went out of print. And now, just this year, Zatu, who are on a complete tear from out of nowhere, picked it up and they've given it a slight fresh lick of paint, redone the rules. It's come out as the 2.0 version, and now this is the new version of Beast that you can get on your shelves. So it's a hidden movement game. So if you haven't played a game like this before, it's basically like a one versus many. One person is the Beast, and then the other players around the table are villagers and hunters who are being sent out to try and track down the Beast before the Beast can do beastly things, right? But you are hunters, so you are tracking this Beast in this lush, verdant, Swedish forest. So you have to rely on clues and of patterns and behaviours for you to really understand where the Beast is before you can even start to think about taking it down. So far, so sort of hidden movement kind of 101. Like, I think overall, I think for me, the theme is a lot more appealing and attractive than, say, Fury of Dracula, just for me. Only because the beasts tend to feel a bit more dynamic and a bit more interesting in their behaviors and what they do than Dracula does. When Dracula kind of like plods genially around the board, like doing some stuff and putting some people in coffins and whatever. And whereas the beasts in Beast, and there are 6 of them, so each game can be radically different, all have their own personalities, ways of movement, different ways that they win the game, and different priorities as they go around the board. So in most of the games I played, like the first game that I played, I was the beast Bolgin, who is this big pustule-strewn frog who is called the Bringer of the Black Marsh. And he hops around the board from place to place, spreading his polyps and his pustules around as he goes. And the artwork is absolutely incredible in this game. It certainly is one of the things that really drew me to wanting to play it. I think the art is incredible. The overall sense and the vibe of the game is very Witcher-esque as well.
Yeah.
Not just because everything's kind of happening in these weirdly supernatural but yet real forests, but also every game starts with you as players committing to a contract. So villagers basically band together and put out this contract to help them rid the land of this beast, and then you as hunters are essentially taking on this contract. And the contract lists certain stipulations, certain things that you've got to do, certain benefits and boons that you can get if you do something by the end of the first night or the second night, etc., etc. So it does have those witchery kind of vibes, which I'm kind of down with as well. So the board state sets up pretty much like your standard hidden movement game. You've got one person behind a little screen it's got a little map, and they'll write their movement on it, and other players around the table are having conversations about where they might have moved to or what's happening, and etc., etc. The big twist with this game, and the reason that I think it's absolutely fantastic, especially as a hidden movement game, is that it employs card drafting. So what happens is, so you have a standard hand of cards, which is attributable to just the beasts and just each of the hunters. And each of the hunters are unique as well. So there's 6 hunters that you can choose from when you play the game, and each of them has a different personality. Some of them are like healers or seers, and some of them are just straight up like just hitting the beast hard for everything it's worth. But then, to supplement those decks, you also have another hand of cards that have dual purpose on them. So they'll have an action that the hunters can do, then they'll have an action that the beasts can do, or the beast. And then what you do is you look at those cards, you'll pick one for you, and then you'll hand the rest around the table. They'll pick one, then they'll hand the rest round, they'll pick one, until there's no cards left. And why that is such a drop of brilliance when it comes to a hidden movement game is that it adds an air of restriction and predictability when it comes to what the beast could possibly do, and even what the hunters could possibly do on their turn. So what happens is that the conversation around the table is not so much about, oh, that's happened, so he must be there, or he can only move those 2 steps, so he must have gone either there or there. That does happen, but to a lesser degree. The majority of the conversation is actually, no, let's not give him that card, because that allows him to move and attack in one move. Right, okay, we'll hold on to that card, because if we take that card away from the beast, yep, that means he can't do that. Fantastic. I'll take that card. That means he can't do that. Fantastic. Pass it on round. And then the cards around again and goes, oh, that's a brilliant card. Yeah, we don't want him to have that one. Oh, they're fantastic. Yeah, we'll stop him having that one. I'll take that. Yeah, brilliant. Or it's, oh, that's a really good card for the hunters. I feel like I really need to have that one, but that means I'm going to be leaving this card in the deck, and yeah, he's definitely going to be picking that one up when it comes back around to their turn.
So Sam, can I ask, have you had a go at playing it from the beast perspective? Is that something that the beast finds an enjoyable part of the game as well?
Yeah, it's kind of enjoyable in that way of it's that pleasant frustration of seeing other people around the table really enjoying themselves, but they're enjoying themselves at the expense of you as the beast in terms of restricting things that you can possibly do.
That's really nice, because there are so many hidden movement games which have a big sprawling map, and it's just like, okay, well, I don't know where you are. You could be here, you could be there, and it just feels like chance whenever you find them. But at least in this context, you feel like you've got something of an advantage there by knowing what they can do, not just where they are, where they could be.
So the first start of each round starts with the building of not just, the actions that you want to do on that turn, but also the knowledge base of what you either restricting or allowing the beast to do on their turn. And then the rest of that round plays out in this way where there's every single time the beast does something, it leaves a clue. It leaves a mark, sometimes physically on the board. So, for example, Bolgin, every time he's hopping around, he's leaving little, like, the thing that Bolgin does is basically he wants to turn the board into the Black Marsh, and he wants to spawn these men called polyps, and they're like these men that walk around with these big, like, bulbous pustules on them, and it's really, really grim and, like, very sort of, well, kind of Witcher-esque in its grotesquerie, really. But everything that the beasts do either relies on being in a certain location. So, for example, when the Bolgin wants to do a really big, like, attack or really big movement, they can only do it from a marsh location where they are located. That's a clue. When they want to generate a polyp, they have to do it from at least up to 2 spaces away from where they are. That's a little clue there. The Bolgin, and I think most of the beasts, actually grow stronger over time. And what basically happens is the game is played over the courses of 3 nights. And on the first night, the beast is not strong enough yet to eat humans. So it can only go after sheep and boars. And if it really wants to, bears. And all these little figures are dotted around the board. So as the beast, you're kind of forced to play your hand eventually, because the only way that you're going to be able to get stronger is by munching on the livestock. And as soon as you munch, you have to reveal where you are, because if you don't munch, you then don't get access to certain rewards, which allows you to basically increase the damage that you do each turn. And then that means that you're kind of at a disadvantage later on in the game. So you're forced as the beast to kind of reveal yourself very, very early on and to interact. And again, in the second night as a beast, you also have different objectives to hit, which involves eating people. And again, if you're going to eat them, you've got to reveal yourself. So it just feels incredibly balanced. And I think that's very rare for a hidden movement game, where the hunters have such a level of control and insight into what the beast can do, how it can move. And then what that means is it's frustrating for the beast, but when you get it right and when you're able to do some subterfuge or play a feint, it's all the more satisfying because you've been able to really reel them in to then either attack or do something else elsewhere. I think it's an absolutely fabulous game.
So I have been continuing with my Apple TV love affair.
Oh, I see.
Oh my gosh. Some of the best television, I tell you, chaps, is on Apple.
Really?
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I've completed Severance Season 1. I'm using Sam Turner's term, completed, not finished, completed.
Completed it, mate.
And genuinely one of my favourite television series of all time. Peter, you would absolutely love it. I know it's there's no point me articulating that to you, but the moment I put it on, I was thinking, oh my gosh, the conversations Pete and I could have about this.
Really?
Yeah. Oh
absolutely.
My word.
Wow.
Like, I have had to bite my lip to explain the concept to you, because already we just have some really interesting conversations just on that conversation about its premise, but I don't want to spoil it, just on the off chance. A little bit like those miniatures that you bought. One day you'll get to it.
That's the fantasy.
That's the fantasy. But I just started watching a television series called Widow's Bay, which dropped a few weeks ago, and it's doing that wonderful thing, which I'd like to see more of, an episode a week. So I am 3 episodes in. Episode 4 drops this week.
Nice.
Of time of recording.
It is nice to have a bit of structure like that, isn't it? For somebody to go, that's all you get for a bit. It's nice.
So Widow's Bay, oh my gosh, how to describe it. So have you watched Jaws, Pete?
Yes, I've seen that. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about the shark movie, not the Bond villain.
Yes, I'm not talking about Richard Kiel,
no,
the actor who played Jaws. I'm talking about the Steven Spielberg.
Yep, I've seen Jaws. Found out apparently the author of Jaws got thrown off the set of Jaws because he didn't like the way that Steven Spielberg was directing. He thought the explosion at the end was ludicrous, and he got thrown off the set.
Wow. I mean, have you watched the documentary about the making of Jaws?
I have not.
Disney Plus.
I've not read the novel either, so maybe I need to read the novel first, and then I can watch the documentary. That would be.
And you've played the board game. Speaking of hidden movement games,
Exactly.
But imagine Jaws, but solely from the perspective of the mayor of the island.
Okay. Yep. I'm on board. I'm on board.
The mayor is kind of the antagonist, really.
Yeah.
So he wants to. It's tourist season on the island. It's a popular source of, it's a huge source of income for the island. He wants to keep the beaches open, and the sheriff is like, no, you can't. And that's the kind of the tension there, really.
Brilliant. Love it.
So Widow's Bay, similarly, is an island, an island off the coast of America, where you've got a mayor who's part of their family is from this island, but they were born off land. And they're on this island, and they are trying to rejuvenate it. Like, there's no Wi-Fi signal. It's a little bit rough around the edges, a little bit dilapidated, and he sees within it something that can really thrive and grow. But the problem is that it looks as if the island's cursed. So if I tell you the creator of this show is Kate Dippold, who was one of the writers on Parks and Recreation.
Ooh.
What you've kind of got is this really interesting mix of a workplace comedy, almost sitcom-esque. Genuinely, it has. This is the thing that's made me laugh the most this year that I've seen on television. Genuinely, but genuine in horror as well. And you've got a mayor who's like, "Oh, did I see that thing? Was it a curse, or was it just something that I can try and explain away because I really, really need this reporter that's coming here from the mainland to have a good time and write a really good piece about how this is like a real gem for tourists to visit."
Fantastic.
Honestly, Sam, I've watched episode 3 and it felt like something Zach Kreger would direct.
Oh.
Like, those swings between the horror and the humour. There's a moment where you are genuinely tense, like, oh my gosh, this is really creepy. And then something happens and you just burst out laughing. And then you're back to like, oh my gosh, get away. And it's hilarious. Like, he'll go to the office and he's just got this workforce that are literally like straight out of Parks and Rec, particularly the character Patricia, played by Kate Flynn, who's amazing, who's just so deadpan in their delivery. And then you've kind of got the local conspiracy theorist, Wick, who knows all the folk culture, who's trying to get all the tourist stuff closed down, and him and the mayor are butting heads with each other. And the mayor is like, I'm not saying it's true, but can you tell me a little bit about this story of this thing? And he's like, oh, okay. So each episode is like, oh yeah, this is the monster of the week. Okay. So in episode 2, there's like a hotel basically that's haunted, and this guy has taken it over as the landlord or the owner of this place. And the locals are like, okay, we won't intervene anymore as long as you spend a night in this hotel in the captain's suite. And he's in this bar with them. He says, yeah, you've got to make sure you do this. You've got to say this in front of the mirror 3 times. You've got to go into the crawl space and do this. He's like, yeah, okay. He's writing it all down on the list. And then he spends a night in this hotel to try and tick the stuff off the list to prove them wrong. And I won't spoil anything else, but like every episode, it's like a new thing appears. And I don't know how they do it, because like it's not something like Ghosts, which I adore, where it's that kind of nice cozy humour that's dealing with the supernatural. Yeah. This is genuinely really quite spooky and unnerving in places, but so funny in others. But the tonal balance just mixes beautifully together. It doesn't feel like, okay, here's the comic bit, here's the horror bit. The two of them just merge incredibly.
Because I watched the first series of Ghosts on your recommendation, and do you think fans of Ghosts would like this?
I think the humour they would. It might be a bit too spooky for some, okay. I think. Yeah. Genuinely. A little bit too unnerving. But yeah, like, I genuinely was laughing out loud, properly laughing out loud, because the humour just caught me off guard. And I don't know whether it's just I don't expect the humour or because the fear has just wound me up so much. Having the opportunity to just diffuse it in that expert manner that Zach Kreger does is just so brilliant that it feels more of a release. But Matthew Rhys, who plays the mayor in this, is absolutely sensational. He is able to balance the irritation of an island where he's on the beach and he's waiting to do his annual swim in the sea, as the tradition of the mayor does that, and he wants his entrance music being played, and there's no power, but the lighthouse keeper is going to run a cable, and you just cut to the mayor looking through binoculars, watching the lighthouse keeper, this old guy, get out of the lighthouse, get on his bike, and you hear the mayor going, "Oh God, he's getting on his bike," and you watch him cycling over the side, then he stops and you go, "Oh, he's forgotten something." He walks back. He says, "Why is he walking the bike back? Just get on the bike and cycle back." And he goes back and he picks up his whatever he's forgotten. Then, so you get those really weird kind of quotidian everyday, almost like Father Ted kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But then there's generally something weird going on. There's like this longer kind of narrative going on here that some of the locals are privy to, but the mayor is having to decide whether he's happy to kind of accept this or try and just deny it and try and explain it away for as long as he can.
It sounds amazing. Like, it sounds like it's made for me. And
oh, totally, Sam.
I think like the reason why it works is I think comedy and horror are strange bedfellows in some respects. Like, it doesn't take much to go from slapstick to all out gore in some ways, especially like the Evil Dead.
Yeah,
is exceptionally good at balancing that line, which I think like tonally it really works when you have horror and comedy together, because first of all I think that they're not too far apart in terms of theme, and also as a watcher I think you are just praying for that release. And it's kind of what Zach Galifianakis does, which is quite good, is kind of lures you into that full sense of security when it comes to the comedy, and you're just like, oh, brilliant, yeah, I'm there, everyone's laughing in the cinema, it's fantastic, with it, share this moment, and then twist the knife, sometimes literally, to have a horror beat. And nothing gets your guard down as much as comedy does. And I just think they just work really, really well together. I mean, it's a dangerous combination because it is just so deliciously sort of macabre to have such things together. But if you think about like the impact of something like even something on the level of Jonathan Creek,
yeah, that's true,
how that really blended that Sunday mid-afternoon, like actually really dark, gruesome tales of death and murder and adultery and mystery, and kind of got away with it, but because the central comedic performance, especially from Carolyn Quentin, was the perfect antidote to that kind of thing. And yeah, this sounds like it's just right up my street.
But I've also been watching a second show.
What? Two shows?
Well, you know how sometimes when you're watching something and you think, oh my gosh, that was a bit down, or that was a bit heavy, I don't quite want to go to bed yet, but I kind of feel like I need something to settle me a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Family Guy, go to. Yeah,
it's a go-to. Also, side note, I've been watching King of Queens for that.
Wow.
I know what you mean.
Wow. No, I don't. I really don't.
No. I don't. No, I don't do it personally. But years ago, some friends of friends staying in their house in Germany, and like the guy there was obsessed with King of Queens. He made us sit down and watch an episode.
Made you?
Like, I found it fascinating.
Was it dubbed or was it in the original English, as Kevin James intended?
As Kevin James intended. He was talking about it as if this was like the greatest comedy of all time.
It's not. It's not the greatest. No,
I don't think it is.
As the man who's watched all of Seinfeld and all of Cheers and all of Frasier, for some reason has taken it upon himself to then watch all. And you are going to watch all of it, aren't you? King of Queens. Yeah, I guess you started from episode 1, season 1, didn't you?
And then maybe MASH.
I thought about Porridge, but yeah.
But I've been watching This Is a Gardening Show on Netflix. Partly inspired by the enormity of Sam's lawn.
Oh, don't.
No.
But I don't need to tell you about the fight that I had with the lawnmower on Bank Holiday weekend.
No.
Who won?
No, you don't.
I don't. I really don't.
Okay, fine. All right.
But so, cards on the table. I've always been slightly intimidated by gardening. It was a while before I had a garden of my own that I could do stuff with. But I grew up in a household where I had parents that just felt as if they had green fingers. They knew everything about plants. They knew what to do. My mum had tons of Jeff Hamilton books on the bookcase. There was Gardener's World, and there were people talking in a language using Latin phraseology, and I just found it really obtuse and difficult to penetrate. Now, This Is a Gardening Show is not as thorough or as instructional as any of those shows. But what it does do is it makes you fall in love with the idea of gardening. And I think that for me is a thing that I think is slightly lost in some of those overly instructional shows where there's an assumption that you already have that interest. And I didn't realise this, but Zach Galifianakis, ever since he moved to LA, started growing peanuts. And this is very much a love letter to gardening, but also where he lives, which is on Vancouver Island in British Columbia.
Right. And
the episodes themselves are not trying to be comprehensive. There's an episode solely devoted to apples, Pete.
I mean, I'm on board. I'm immediately on board.
Another one on tomatoes.
Yeah.
Root vegetables, foraging.
Yeah.
Did either of you watch Between Two Ferns?
Yes, that's what I was going to get onto, Sam, because I really love Between Two Ferns.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of premise here, Sam, but like
amazing.
He interviews children in the local area about what they think of apples and tomatoes, etc. And then the last half of each episode, which is like the last half, which is 7 minutes, is like him speaking to a local grower or a local forager.
Oh, cool.
And it is so charming. It is so gentle. It has this really cool kind of hippie aesthetic and it has that Between Two Ferns thing where all the outtakes are kept in the show. They're just in that flow of the show, really. So it just feels very kind of handmade and feels very indie as hell. And you see him learning from experts, and you'll tend to just walk away with one bit of knowledge about an episode, and that's it. It doesn't hit you over the head with lots of stuff. And it's not trying to patronize you by saying, this is what an apple is. But like, it just makes you fall in love with the majesty of the natural world and this idea of growing something with your hands, how beautiful that can be. And I just think it's a lovely, gentle show.
Because if you watch the trailer, Zach is very keen to impress upon you that this is a show about the food chain, as in the as in the industrialization or the industrialized food chain as it is now. I think, especially in America, it's not to say the UK is perfect, but especially in America. And it's about educating, I mean, it seems to be specifically younger people about where their food comes from and how to grow food and kind of inspiring a generation. Now, my worry is it's Zach Galifianakis doing that, and it's not Barack Obama. And in some ways, does it land? Like, does he actually stick the landing in terms of really inspiring young people to actually learn where potatoes come from and grow some radishes and stuff?
I wouldn't say he does that, because I haven't really got evidence to support that. He might do that, I don't know. But he is great with kids. He is absolutely fantastic with the kids.
Yeah, but in your opinion, are you inspired? Do you feel like what he's doing is inspiring and you're learning? And
yeah, I am as well, definitely. And I think that one of the ways he does it, picking up on what you were saying, is that this idea that like mass consumerism means that quite often people have an idea of what a potato is.
Yep.
It's like or an apple is. And what he'll often show you is breeders or growers growing so many different types of potato or tomato that taste better, look just as good, but they don't bear resemblance to the archetypal tomato that's been pumped full of so much preservatives and things and growth hormones that people would just walk by. So he is really trying to champion local wholesalers, local growers, essentially, trying to, in his own little way, contribute to the movement that is trying to push back against that. Now, it's not overly politicized, I would say. It's very much politics with a very small p.
Yep.
But I think it's quite telling that most of the people he interviews in his episodes are children. And yes, it's that kind of like joking, making them laugh kind of thing. And he's very good with them, but he is asking them what they think about the food they eat.
That's cool.
It's pleasant. It's just very, very pleasant. Like, I think it's sad to say that I'll probably forget about it. And then it'll suddenly appear in my feed and go, oh gosh, yeah, I wouldn't mind just dipping into that, because it is just a sensation. It's a lovely, delightful sensation. It has that hippie aesthetic, which I really, really love, that you just kind of waft in, really. And it's just very gentle.
I mean, you might say that you're not even the intended audience. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know who or what the intended audience is for this, really.
Well, the fact he interviews kids seems to suggest it is a kids' educational program.
But then he interviews adults, and it's not like...
Yeah, but you can interview adults but when he's talking to the adults, is it like tell me about all the oxygenated sample blast that goes into these potato wringle wrangles? Or is he just like, how do you grow potato?
Didn't know you were a gardener, Sam.
Yeah, no, it's not like Tractor Ted. Like he is like walking around. He's just talking to them. Frankly, it's really weird. Like it's in a beautiful way.
Because like my son, he's only 5, but he'll watch like David Attenborough and nature shows for kids, and takes away like that content.
Oh no! I'm not making assumptions. I'm not saying that kids can't enjoy it. It's just like I don't even think they're the only audience for this. I think
I'm not saying the only audience, but what's the core audience for it?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
That's really interesting.
I'm really having a really enjoyable time with it, though. Genuinely.
Yeah, like
I've not seen anything quite like it. There's a mixture of something that's like 70s kids TV, but also just between two ferns. Him just walking around, washing vegetables, going foraging, asking, wry questions. It's interesting.
It sounds great.
It's interesting. It's very gentle.
See, this is on Apple TV?
This is on Netflix.
This one's on Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, there's only 6 episodes, so 15 minutes long. So just a tiny little musée-bouche.
A musée-bouche.
But it's quite nice because he's not an expert, but equally also he's not pleading completely ignorant.
Yeah.
You actually see him go, oh my gosh, that I wished I'd known that. That's a really lovely little hack you've given me there. That's really cool. Thank you very much. Like, I know this sounds really, really stupid. I'm going to say something really stupid that's perhaps going to reveal my ignorance here.
Cool. Do it.
Okay, but I'm in a safe space, aren't I? We've been working with each other on this pod for over 10 years
Over
now.
10 years, you'll be fine.
Sam's shaking his head, but I'm still going to press on. I didn't realise that root vegetables are you're eating the roots of the vegetable. Right. I thought it was just called a root vegetable because it was underground.
Yeah, it's in the ground. But yeah. So the flowering part is above. As with all plants.
Yeah.
And you're eating the...
But I didn't know I was eating the root itself. I just thought it was a root vegetable because it was rooted in the ground.
And have you eaten a root vegetable since finding out that information? I mean, has it put you off?
No, not at all. But I just really like that. Again, it's something like it's not something necessarily I can go off with and do, spend a day in the garden with that information. But knowing it's a lovely little way, a little foot into the door to make me curious and interested about just trying and failing. And that's one thing I learned from this show is actually it's like, we just try this, we'll do this. If it doesn't work, we'll do something else slightly differently. And that's really lovely to see when you're so used to being brought up on television with people with manicured lawns.
And I think that's the other thing, right? Like, it sounds like it's actually delivering on its premise. The premise being, let's talk more about what growing stuff actually is, because there is a disconnect between our food and how it's like our consumption of our food and how it's actually grown. Like, a chicken nugget is the furthest that you could it's so not looking like a chicken, right? That it's really easy to sort of deconstruct what that is and just go, well, that's just a chicken nugget. I don't think of it as it used to be a chicken, right? I think it's the same with things like root vegetables, right? You look at a parsnip and you go, oh, lovely, a vegetable. You don't think this is the root, right? You don't think about that thing, because if somebody doesn't sit you down and actually talk to you about it, you just wouldn't know that, because we are so removed from our food growing process. That I think it's why people, we're into our 40s now, or late 30s, early 40s now. I think it's why people of our generation, and I'm sure other generations too, start to think, I don't actually know much about this. I'm going to start getting into it. I'm going to start figuring out a bit more about. And it is a kind of science. I mean, it is science, right? It's biology. Like, it is a kind of science that we can do, an everyday kind of science that we can do. And at the end of it, we don't just have an exam result, we have a salad.
Well, here's a question for you. Is there anything anything like that, like I was saying about the root vegetables thing, a thing that you've only realised recently?
Not recently, but the moment that I realised that Phoenix Down in Final Fantasy VII is the down of the Phoenix bird was the bit where I went, oh God.
I used to always think that when I wanted to remove a piece of software from my computer, I'd had to uninstall it.
That's beautiful. I think that I
that.
think the one that always comes to my mind is when you were. I think I can't remember what podcast this was on, Pete. Probably 10 years ago. You were talking about Prapper the Rapper, and this idea
That's
that
me.
it was
That's
you,
me.
Sam? He's a rapscallion.
Yeah.
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 Incredible.
Yeah. Incredible. Listener, if you have just realised something
that you've been listening to us for 10 years.
Yeah. And you haven't turned us off yet. And you've just realised something like, oh yeah, it is, carrots are a root vegetable. Or if you've had a revelation like those, like what we have just explained, email us, stayingpod@gmail.com. You can tell us all about it and we will go, wow. Because we probably don't know either, to be fair.
Do you want to know another thing that I found out the other day?
I
Keep them coming.
You know, in a petrol lawnmower, you know the thing that you pull to make it go.
The starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can come out.
Oh,
Cheeky.
oh dear. That sounds like a frustrating weekend.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it turns out that it's removable, and it's not meant to be.
Like many things.
So I found out that.
Like many things.
I also found out that the lawnmower has a thing called a drainage bolt.
Oh.
Wow.
So that's a bit of fun, isn't it?
That's a nice bit of.
Are you looking for a new lawnmower, Sam?
Stick with a scythe, mate.
Oh my god.
Scythe. My mum's got a scythe. She can let you borrow it.
I think that's dangerous with a 5-year-old and a dog running around, don't you? Anyway, back to business.
I'm gonna put Something in the Air by Thunderclap Newman on the Spotify playlist, which is the theme tune used for This Is a Gardening Show. It's a really lovely track.
Sounds great.
Lovely.
You can listen to that, listener, on our Spotify playlist, which is linked, as with all the stuff what I'm just about to say, is linked from the show notes, wherever it is that you're listening to this. That might be YouTube.
Should we do something new that we've not done in 10 years?
Go on then.
Let's recap what we talked about.
What, over 10 years?
No.
So what did we learn today?
What did we learn today? This is it. This could be new. What have we learned today?
Yeah.
We learned that Beast is my new favourite hidden movement game.
Yeah, it's much better than having Dracula wobble about. You definitely want something that's not Dracula wobble
Absolutely,
about.
yeah. And we've also learned about a brand new comedy on Apple TV called
Widow's Bay.
And another brilliant show called It's a Gardening Show.
Yep.
With Zach Galifianakis.
Yep. And another brilliant show called King of Queens.
Asterisk.
Yeah.
Needed.
Yeah.
Citation needed.
Citation needed.
So, listener, please continue to subscribe to us. Don't uninstall us from your podcast app.
Don't uninstall us either.
No.
It's even worse.
And we've also learned that you can buy what you want. Enjoy it. Have fun. And if that gives you a sort of sense of fantasy of, I'll get to this, then that's great. But also, maybe we should think about whether or not we will get to those things. And then maybe just do it. Just get to those things. Or get it out, yeet it out of your house. Give it to charity. Get some money back for it. And go and get the thing that you actually want. Or whatever.
It'd be difficult to write that on a fortune cookie.
Yeah, that's why I got fired from that job.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.